to crochet a headband for a baby and add a flower. So we're going to start with first the tools that we need, which for the headband itself, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Walmart. I'm very, very familiar. So it's the J needle for the headband itself, and for the flower I have the G. This is the G. You can really use any needle that you want for the flower because it's based upon how big or how wide you want it. The same goes with the headband. It's based upon how big the needle is as to how tight the stitch is actually going to be. So depending on who or what you're making it for, it can actually be like thicker, it'll spread, or like for me, when I do a baby headband, I normally do about 4 rows out. So along with the needles, you need your scissors. Scissors are very important because it's gonna look very sloppy if you tear or rip your thread or yarn. And then after that, you need a plastic crochet needle. And the needle is just like a regular big metal sewing needle. With the plastic crochet needle, this is very good because you can bend it to maneuver in and out of the yarn so that it's easier to pull it all together. So basically at Walmart, for beginners or people who are just really starting out, you can start with like the basic bundle of yarn, which is about $2.77 plus tax. So I always suggest starting with like 1 to kind of practice because you can rip it out. So when you begin with your, and I've already started, and I'm sure you guys know how to do the chain as we previously discussed. So what I ideally do normally is I do about 35 to 42 chains for a baby headband, so that even a newborn, once you do your rows as thick as you need them to be, which is like I said, normally about 4 to 5, it'll be able to stretch and grow with the baby. And so after that, I start with the J. I use J, it's really my favorite needle to use. And so you're gonna go in your last loop. When you made your chain, you go in the last one, and you're gonna pull it all the way down, and you're gonna connect it into the very last loop. You're gonna pull it all the way out. It's not no real method, you're just gonna go through the last hole in the end. You're gonna readjust your yarn, and you're gonna come through the very first hole. So that is gonna create your headband right there. That's the base for it. Once you pull it all the way through, you're simply gonna just chain up 2. So it's 1, 2, and then you're gonna find your very, very first loop. So you're gonna go under, you're gonna go in the first one, and then you're gonna pull it back through, and you'll have 3 loops on your needle. And then you're gonna pull it all the way through. So basically that is the single crochet stitch. After we've done our 4 rows of our single crochet all the way around, this is pretty much what your finished product is gonna look like. And so what I did was, in the front of it, where instead of threading the thread all the way through, what I did was I kind of tied it so that it would kind of fold over, so that when I attach the flower in the front, it looks like a bow almost. You'll see the fold with the flower under it. So, I mean, these are good for gifts, these are good for friends, these are good for making money, extra gas in the car, groceries, kids need diapers, anything. Like, it's basically, crocheting is a simple habit that was picked up to bring more money in the house, to do the simple things like toilet paper if that's what was needed. So after you've done your 4 rows, 4 or 5 or 6, whatever's comfortable for you, then we're gonna finish that off. We've tied it, so we're finished with the headband, and now we're gonna start the flower. Done is we started our chain for the flower, and it's as simple as linking 6. You're just going to chain up 6 chains, and then you're going to go ahead and you're going to connect into your very last hole like we did with the headband as well, and then you're going to pull all of it through to the end. Then you're going to, basically it's a single crochet around. With the first round, you're going to put 9 in, and so you start with your very first one, you go all the way through the very center. I know it's small, but you're just going basically all the way through the center. And so you're gonna pull it back through, and we're still working with the 3 loops on the needle. And so when you pull it all the way through, that gives you your single crochet. So we're gonna do this around the whole first circle. We're gonna do that 9 times around. Okay, so now we've completed the first round in our flower. So after you complete the first round and you've linked it together, then you start the same stitch that we did. You're gonna go around the second time. And with the flower pattern, it's as simple as following the same stitch, but you're going to do it front and back. So once you complete one round, you're going to turn it over and you're going to do the same amount of stitches, and then you're going to do it to however long, however big, or however thick you want your flower to actually be. So we're going to go ahead and complete our flower, and then we'll be back to connect it. Completed our flower. First, I'll show you guys what your flower should look like. This is the flower. And so once we've completed the flower, remember in the beginning we talked about what you would need the crochet sewing needle for. So we've already thread our yarn through it, and what you're going to do is the fold in the front that we talked about for the front of the headband. You're going to go ahead and you're just going to hold it on there, and you can either go from the bottom. I generally like to go from the bottom of the inside of the headband because the string that you tied, it's easier to knot it off on the inside so that it doesn't look crazy in the center of your flower. And so you're just going to go through and you're going to secure it as long as you feel comfortable, however many threads. Sometimes I like to make it with a different color so that it looks like a center of the flower. And so after that, we're going to go back through just a couple of stitches through. And then all you need to do is turn it over on the inside so that now you're at the inside where you can hide everything, because it's going to be on the head. And if you see where the knot is, the string is originally, you're just going to tie it off. It's really easy to do. Maybe like 2 times, that'd be good so that it's not going to come out. A baby's not going to pick the yarn apart. So you can give it a good tug, and then all you need to do is snip your yarn. That's what a bag is for. And you have your baby headband. I'm sorry. Thank you guys for listening to this instructional session on creating a baby headband with the flower attached. Of course, feel free to ask any questions after the session.